garden. It's called a century plant. I can't remember whether I planted it or whether it was here when we moved in. We've been in the house about 15 years. Well, this plant takes anywhere from 10 to 20 years to bloom. That's right, all those years it works its way up to this bloom. And it's not just any bloom. It is a 10 to 20 foot tall bloom. Actually blooms all the way, well, sort of at the top. Yellowish, greenish blooms. I'm not sure how long it blooms, but it works its way up to this humongously tall stalk with a bloom on top. And we're watching this plant as it's getting ready. And every day that bud gets about a foot taller as the stalk is pushing it up out of the middle of this, what's called an American aloe, actually. It's kind of a succulent, looks kind of like an aloe. Anyway, the point of this is that this plant spends its whole lifetime working up to this huge moment when in all its glory it blooms, puts forth all this effort to create this one-time event, the biggest event of its life. And you know what happens then? It dies. The plant dies. It puts forth all that energy, does this glorious creative thing, and then it croaks. So I was so excited when I saw this bloom happening. I was like, wow, look, it's going to finally bloom. And then I thought, and then it will be dead. And this plant is probably, 6 or 8 feet wide by 8 or 10 feet tall. And it's a big plant. So when it dies, it's going to leave this huge hole. Well, not a hole, but a hole in the garden where it existed, right? But here's the interesting thing, that when the plant dies, it has actually created already babies. Out of its ashes, out of its rotted structure, come new plants. Actually, it's already created 1 or 2 new ones, but the root system begins to generate new plants in its place. So it isn't like it just works its way up over its lifetime to this miraculous creative event and then goes away for good. No, it goes away, but it leaves a legacy. It leaves a legacy. It leaves babies, baby plants ready to show up and grow and become amazingly creative plants on their own. So why am I telling you all this? I work with a lot of creatives. Me, myself, I consider myself a creative as well. Most of you know I'm an author, and I'm so involved in the process of creation. And I work with a lot of people, myself included, who want to make a positive and meaningful difference in the world. They want to have impact. They want to have legacy. They want what they do to actually live on after them. And so when I thought about this plant, at first I thought, well, it takes a century or more for it to create what it's going to create, and then it dies and leaves nothing behind. But that's not true, because it does. It leaves baby century plants ready to take its place and to do the same work in the world, to leave the same mark, to have the same impact. So there is legacy. So what I want to ask you today and actually challenge you about is to do some sort of creative work in this world. It doesn't have to be painting or drawing, but create something. Work towards something. Have your life be this path to a miraculous creative event. Don't go out with a whimper. Go out with a bang. Go out with a huge bloom 20 feet in the air. And then from that, have something stay behind. Something, you create something that lives on beyond you. That's what we call legacy. So what could that be for you? It could be a book. It could be a painting. It could be a problem solution type course that you sell. It could be let's see, it could be music. It could be the impact you have in your church or your synagogue. There are lots of ways to be creative. You don't have to be someone who paints or draws or makes music or writes books. There are lots of ways to create things. But what I want to emphasize here is that what you're doing is you're taking your life and you're saying, my life will be a a journey of ever-growing strength and creativity. A journey that takes me to this moment when I explode and show the world my true strength and beauty and power and colors. And then when I go, I will leave something behind that will grow in my place. That's really what's happening. This plant is leaving something to grow in its place. So for me, I know that I want my work to be ever more powerful books. Yes, I have courses and programs as well, and I do coaching. And my coaching also can sort of grow as I grow. But I want to end with a body of work that with my last one being my most important and my most impactful. I have a friend who's going through the process right now of transition from this earthly plane to another. He's in the process of transitioning, of dying, and his last thing he did was he wrote a book about his cancer and his death. And that will have impact long after he's gone. Now, he's created a body of work. Besides, he was one of the first people whose books I edited, and he created a huge business that's a legacy that he leaves behind. But his process of dying was, he talked about it publicly, and he shared his process. And for him, that was a really powerful creative process. And people were able to grow and learn from that. And then he leaves this book behind as well. So you could be doing something similar. You don't have to talk about your death, but just think about it. How can you work towards your biggest impact, right? I talk about authoring change. What kind of change can you impact before the end of your life? And how can you then leave something behind out of that, a legacy that grows on, lives on after you're gone? So that's my challenge to you today, is to think about that and to be considering yourself like a century plant who's building towards that big moment. And that big moment, even though after that you may be gone, you leave a legacy. You leave something that impacts the world long after you're gone. So that's it today. I'll try to post a couple pictures in my blog post related to this video that shows some pictures, but the pictures they're early on. I mean, the bloom is, like this bigger than my screen at this point. It's growing about a foot a day. But later on in my Instagram feed or in my Facebook feed, Twitter feed, you'll see pictures of this plant as it begins to rise towards the sky and then bloom. And I'll show the pictures of the little babies afterwards too. It's going to take some months because it's going to take a while for this to happen. In any case, get your inspiration from the century plant. Look it up online. It's a pretty cool plant. Lives to bloom once. That's it. And maybe that's you. Maybe you live to bloom once and then to leave that legacy. I'm Nina Amir. I'm the Inspiration to Creation coach. I love to help people get from the moment of inspiration when that light bulb goes on to the actual realization of their dream, to the creation of something that they want to bring into the world. I help people combine their passion and their purpose so they get inspired to action, so they get inspired results. It's really my purpose in this world, is to help people do that. So if you would like to bring something into the world and you feel like the thing stopping you is, you're not alone. And this is what I do, is I help you get out of your own way so that you can indeed create what you want. So if that's something you want some support on, then fill out my application at ninaamir.com/free session. ninaamir.com/free session. You'll see the link written out for you at the end of this video. And it's also down below this video. And if you're seeing it in a blog post, it's always in the blog post. So fill out the application and let's get on the phone or on a Zoom call for an hour or an hour and a half and do a certified high performance coaching strategy session. So I am a certified high performance coach as well as an author coach. And as a certified high performance coach, one of 700 or 750 elite coaches all around the world, what I do is I help you master your psychology, your physiology, your productivity, your influence, your sense of necessity, so that you get something done in this world, so that you step into your best self, the highest version of you, And so you live your life fully, and you don't just have ideas and desires that never are manifest, but that you actually bring into this world. So I would love to do a strategy session with you, see if we're a good fit to coach together. I promise you'll get a few tips and pointers along the way. You'll learn a little bit about high performance, and we'll have a good time. And I would love to meet you and to see whether there's a chance of us working together. Now, if you're an author and you want to work with me, shoot me an email at nina@ninaamir.com, or go to any one of my sites and you'll see a little pop-up that invites you to a 15-minute free session. And that's just a chance for you and I to talk, to see what you need, to see if I can help you. Okay? So that's it for today. Go out there, be a century plant. Okay? Be a century plant. Work towards that big moment, that big bloom, and then leave something behind as your legacy, something that continues to grow and to bloom and bring joy to others, have impact in the world. That's it. Until next time, go out there and achieve more inspired results.